Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton announced on his website this morning he is going to run for president in 2020. That makes him the 20th candidate to start vying for the Democratic nomination.
I'm running because we have to beat Donald Trump. And I want us to beat Donald Trump because I love this country.
At 40 years old, the Marine Corps veteran could become the nation's youngest president in history, but he's only the third youngest Democrat in the race. For more on what this means, we're joined by CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. Good to see you.
Hi, good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. All right, so father, former Marine, 40 years old, not a big fan of Nancy Pelosi.
That's right. You know, a couple months ago, we went to D.C. and interviewed Moulton, and we asked him about a potential candidacy, and he said if he were to run, he would focus on foreign policy. He mentioned he's a Marine Corps veteran, did 4 tours in Iraq, but he is also known for more nationally as someone who has been kind of leading the charge of the younger folks in Congress calling for new leadership. He wasn't successful in that effort to oust her, of course. I asked him about that, and he said he had no regrets about it, and he's making that same pitch as kind of a younger generation, a fresh face for leadership in D.C., hoping to draw that contrast with Trump.
What are his chops on foreign policy?
Well, he did 4 tours in Iraq as a veteran. He gave a speech.
Opposed the war, by the way, right? Is that correct?
Yes, and he gave a speech a couple of months ago at Brookings that was really interesting because he called for a reshuffling of NATO alliances. And I asked him if that was something that he agreed with President Trump on, and he said no. He wants to strengthen those alliances, and he believes that the president is trying to weaken them. And he also criticized the president in our interview for his relationship with the North Korean dictator and for other world leader. So we're going to see him draw that contrast on foreign policy, and he feels like none of the Democrats are really talking about foreign policy and national security, and that's where he feels he can make some headway in this race.
Does this guy stand a chance?
It is such a crowded field, as you mentioned. He's the 20th candidate to get in.
So what punches through about him, in your opinion?
Well, this is why he's trying to see national security issues as a way for him at least to get attention. But remember, to make real headway in this race, you really have to make the debate stage in June in Miami. And that means you need to have 65,000 grassroots donors. You have to make some headway in the polls here. So we'll see if he's able to break through that way. If you don't make the debate stage, it's really hard for voters to kind of see you compared to all these other candidates, and they're all looking for someone who can defeat Donald Trump.
Let's do a little rapid fire here. Where is he on veterans issues?
Well, he is a veteran himself, so he has been very supportive of that and really making that his calling card. He's also going to make his pitch really in New Hampshire. He's from Massachusetts, so it's right over the border. So you're going to see him going there. He's going through a swing of early states in the coming days, trying to make his pitch.
Where is he on gun rights?
Well, he's mostly with Democrats on most of these issues. We have seen him in Congress just for a few years, really. So he's kind of new to the scene this way. And we'll see kind of how he shapes up against these others.
What would you say is his biggest weakness?
His biggest weakness, I would say, is probably experience, but a lot of these other candidates don't have as much experience, and it really depends what voters are looking for in a candidate. What is going to be his weakness, too, could be his connections in Washington already. We're seeing a lot of interest in Mayor Pete Buttigieg from Indiana, South Bend, trying to draw that contrast with Washington, and we haven't seen some of these other senators really make headway in the polls, probably with the exception of Kamala Harris.
Mayor Pete would be the youngest.
He would.
If he were to win, right?
That's right.
On Moulton, how long has he been in the Congress?
I believe he's a 3-term congressman.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still pretty new, and he came into Congress by defeating a Democratic incumbent. So he kind of has this history of going against the establishment in a lot of ways, and in that case, at least, it proved effective.
How about Joe Biden?
Joe Biden, we're hearing that he is expected to make it official sometime this week. There is this question looming over his candidacy about where he actually fits into this race. Remember, he's leading most polls, but that's largely a reflection of name ID. We've seen the party shift to the left a lot during the course of this campaign so far. So the question is, does Joe Biden fit this moment? He is trying to make the case that he's the most electable, that he can go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and he served in the Obama administration, and most Democrats really love Obama.
So some people think he might be the best contender against Trump, but is he the best contender amongst his own people?
That's going to be the biggest question, David, whether he can actually make it through a Democratic primary. And we've already seen in the lead up to this, to his announcement, this interest in all of these other candidates. His level of support, you could say he is leading in the polls, but it's also really interesting to see others rise in the polls, and these voters look at all these candidates and weigh their options.
I'll put you on the spot, if I may. What Democratic candidate you think is the toughest against Biden?
It's really difficult to tell at this point, but I think Mayor Pete Buttigieg is giving everybody in this race a run for their money, especially because he's trying to.
I mean, he's exciting. He's got a great story, but do you think that lasts?
It's the big question, and again, that's why we're all going to be waiting to see the first debate in June, because that's going to be the real assessment in real time about how these candidates are actually doing. Once you actually see them on the stage and you're visualizing them against each other, but also visualizing them against the president.
It's interesting you say that. I saw Pete Buttigieg on a CNN town hall, and he seemed very demure in a big stadium. He seemed to sort of not stand out as well as he does maybe in a one-on-one interview.
What's interesting about these candidates too is that they're all friendly with each other at this point in time, so we'll see kind of whether that ramps up and whether that stays on the debate stage.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, I feel smarter when I talk to you.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you. Appreciate it.